Hi, good morning. I wanted to pop in and talk to you a little bit about the assignment that you'll be working on for tonight, and maybe some things you can work on over the weekend as well. As you know, we have been working on looking at writing as a conversation. And you have now started working on your project to response essay, which asks you to join that conversation. So, um, you have seen an example of what that kind of writing looks like because you have been reading through Dr. Rashana Shanti Young's Should Writers Use They Own English? And in that journal article, he is responding to the author Stanley Fish. So this time, I'm going to be asking you to write your own response to one of the authors we've read for this unit, and use some of those other authors to help you do so. If you take a look, you'll see that I've asked you to read tonight some of these online handouts: the thesis statement, introductions and conclusions, and active voices, chapter 27 or 30 in the ebook, what a two-part title is. And the reason why I'm asking you to read over those texts, they're not very long, is because all of those are going to give you some ideas about where to go with your draft once you have an idea of what text or author you are interested in responding to. You now, over the course of the week, I've asked you to get started on your project to response essay by writing in discussion 12. So for most of you, you are not just getting started on this project. In fact, you have already started responding to one of the texts from this last unit because you practiced doing so in discussion 12. Now, you don't need to be wedded to what you wrote here. And in fact, if you want to change your mind, that's totally fine. But what I would like you to do for tonight is to take whatever ideas you have and drop something here into this submission box titled Something I Can Respond to. Let's just open that up. Okay, so please note that before I'm asking you to write this, I also want you to read a couple of the sample student response essays that are in your course projects and schedule module at the top of our Canvas page. And then I am going to ask you to submit something to this submission box. So if you are the kind of person who really likes to be organized and create an outline, a detailed outline, that's great. That's what you can pop into this submission box tonight. Maybe you are someone who likes to work on crafting a thesis statement, and that's what gets you started. That's fine. You can drop that in, or you might just have some questions that you want to ask me. You can drop that in. I just want you to know that this is the format that I'm going to use to give you feedback on what you're thinking of writing about for essay 2 before it's due. You already wrote in discussion 12, and in discussion 12, I'm not going to do a lot in there. I'm going to ask your peers to respond to you in discussion 12. So this document tonight is really, really important. I want to look at this over the weekend and give you feedback so that next week you'll have my feedback to work with as well, so that you can turn in your final draft of this essay that you're working on next Friday, not this one. Okay, so there are some things I want you to think about as you are going about writing your response to one of the authors that we have been reading and using other authors to help you do so. One thing that's very important in this essay that I'm not sure I've emphasized enough in your instructions is that I would like for your ideas, your experience, and your knowledge to be included in your essay. So think about this. We have been reading a ton of texts, a lot of authors who have been writing about student writing. So, but the one voice we have not yet heard is the voice of the student. So you have a very legitimate role in this conversation, and in fact, your voice is needed. So you should add more than just your ideas, summary, and analysis of the text you're working with. You should consider your own experiences and ideas and knowledge important elements of this essay as well. One thing that I'm asking you to do when you submit your final draft of this essay, you don't have to do it in this Dropbox for something I can respond to, but you may want to just because it'll make things easier later. I would like for you to include with for each source you discuss in your essay, I would like you to include at least one direct quote from the article or the text or the resolution. And if you are working with a source that does not have page numbers, I'm going to ask you to include the paragraph number. That isn't given to you. For those texts that don't have page numbers, you'll have to count those paragraphs yourselves. But I think that's okay because I want you to be really familiar with those texts. So, by the way, while you do not have to include that information in something I can respond to, you will want to include it in your final draft of your response essay, project 2. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what it might look like to include paragraph numbers or page numbers in a citation. So let's look at a couple of sentences that I'm going to use as examples. You've read Dr. Young's article, Should Writers Use Their Own English? If I wanted to quote Dr. Young's article in my essay, this is what it would look like. I'd first use what's called a signal phrase. In his article, Should Writers Use Their Own English? Dr. Young, that's a signal phrase. It gives you some information about who's going to be quoted. It's Dr. Young, and it talks about the title of the text that he wrote as well. So I'm going to start that over. In his article, Should Writers Use Their Own English? Dr. Young concedes that Stanley Fish's argument over what should be taught in college writing courses, quote, ain't all wrong. And then I put the page number. And that's all you have to do. If, for instance, you didn't say Dr. Young's name in the sentence, then you would also need to include his name in the parenthetical citation at the end of your quote. However, some of your sources do not have page numbers. That's because they're electronic sources. While the use of paragraph numbers is being phased out of MLA style in text citations, I'm going to ask you to use it. So for instance, if you are quoting an electronic text that has no page numbers, it might look like this. In his article, Who's Left Out of the Conversation, author Alan Van Hoy explains there is a group whose voice is often marginalized in academia, students. Then, because I didn't have a page number, I put the paragraph number here. So again, you'll need to count out those paragraph numbers yourself, but I'm not worried. I think you'll be accurate enough with that. So I will actually return any essay I get that does not have either page numbers, paragraph numbers, or minute second markers if you're working with the YouTube video or Del Valle's spoken word poem. And let's see, finally, I am very excited to read what you have to say in response to these authors. And I'm not super excited about reading what any AI chatbot has to say about this conversation. I know these texts really well. What I'm interested is in learning about the connections or tensions that you see between these texts and your response to that. So please do not use AI for any of your essay. I want to hear what you have to say, not what AI has to say. And finally, I'm looking forward to reading what you post tonight. That's it. Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, I know. And I have office hours this morning. So check down below for the link for those office hours. This would be a great time to talk to me about any questions you might have. And I look forward to talking to you and reading your work over the weekend. Thanks. Bye.